Hello, my students. Today we're going to be looking at section 5.3 at three different types of pay type that we've been discussing salary, we've been discussing hourly, and so today we're going to look at commissions, royalties, and piecework pay. And as we're describing these and thinking of what jobs might pay this way, you're going to be thinking to yourself, could I see myself working in a job that is paid this way? So we're going to go through this reading. This is the actual reading from the text and highlight some important parts. And then we're going to go down and do some brainstorming and some examples. So what jobs base their pay according to the amount produced? Some employees are not paid by the number of hours they work. Their pay is based on amount of sales they make. Stockbrokers, travel agents, authors, musicians, realtors, salespersons, all are paid based on the money from sales. So go ahead and take a minute and highlight that. These people are paid a commission or a royalty. These are two of our new vocab words for the day, so go ahead and highlight those. The commission or royalty is usually expressed as a percent. People who get paid commissions or royalties earn more money as more sales are made. So let's go highlight that. Even if they work many hours, they can earn very little money if they make very few sales. Some employees get a commission in addition to a regular salary. Can you think of any advantages or disadvantages of getting paid only by commission? Okay, good, you're right. If they don't make any sales, no sales equals no pay. But can you think of an advantage? Lots of sales equals lots of pay. In fact, commissioned jobs, sales jobs, are the highest paying jobs out there. Now, you've got to have the personality for it. You've got to know your product, whatever it is that you're selling. But if you have the personality for it, you have one of the highest potentials for earning over and above all jobs. So let's just look through this today, see, okay, what kind of jobs are these? Is this something I could see myself doing? So one of the biggest ones that we hear about lately is a real estate salesperson. A real estate salesperson receives a commission on the sale of each home. The salesperson makes no money until there is a sale. And when an author writes a book, the author's job is basically done, but royalties depend on sales. But the author does not have to do any more writing to make money, but they can do promotional events and book signings to increase awareness of the book, which may increase sales. So a real estate agent, could you imagine yourself selling homes someday? It is a really great and lucrative career, but there are so many real estate salespersons these days, right? So you have to be careful and think of, how am I going to get more sales than the next guy? And then royalties on writing a book. Could you imagine yourself writing a book, a novel, a children's book, any kind of book? And then could you see that becoming lucrative for you, something you could see yourself getting those books to sell? Compare commission workers to people who are paid according to the amount of items they produce. They are paid by production. These employees are called piece workers, paid by production. Piece workers are paid a certain amount of money called piecework rate for each item they complete. So literally, you're paid by item. Although piecework is not as common as in years past, there are still jobs in farming, manufacturing, clothing factories, and journalism where this method of payment is used. Piecework pay is sometimes used in combination with an hourly wage. Let's go ahead and highlight that. So you might make minimum wage and then a per item fee over and above the top of that. The employee gets paid by the hour and receives a certain amount of money for each piece of work. The greater number of pieces of work completed, the more money the employees make. So why would an employer pay with a piecework rate? Can you see how it would incentivize? It would make an employee want to work more if they know they get paid more by the number of items they produce. So this method of piecework rate is a way to incentivize employees with money to get more work done. All right, let's go fill in some words here based on the reading. A commission is when an employee receives a percentage of the amount of sales produced. Take a minute to fill in the blank. This word percentage. So commission is when an employee receives a percentage of the amount of sales produced. The next one is royalty, money that employees or others receive based on, you got it, sales. So the more that sells, the more they make. A piece worker is an employee who is paid by production. The more items they make, or let's put this, paid per item they produce, the more they make, the more so the piece worker is the employee who's paid by production, and a piece worker rate is, let me go copy and paste this one in so you have the exact one. The amount of money that a person is paid per item according to the amount produced. So this is Kavanaugh 12. Let's go make this. Kavanaugh 12. Okay, so those are our new vocabs for this section. We're now going to go through and do some brainstorming and then answer some examples. So what jobs can you think of that would make good commissions? And you can type in anything here. I'm just going to go through and brainstorm with you. So it already talked about real estate salesperson. I also want to do another type of salesperson, pharmaceutical sales rep. Excuse me. Let's do cell phone sales. Let's do car salesman. What other kind of salesman can you think of? Financial advisors. Anyways, put down any of those jobs that you can think of that sell things. A friend of mine's husband is into computer parts and components. So he puts together entire systems for government contracts. So he technically is in computer sales, but he does, we're talking about billion-dollar packages where it's all the computers, all the electronics that are needed for an entire office within the government. So he makes really big money. Can you imagine on those contracts he puts together? Let's go into royalties. So they already talked about an author. That's someone who writes books. We talked about musician. And musician can mean a lot of things, right? It can be somebody who's putting out a record, but it could also be somebody who's doing the background music for movies, commercials. There's so much too that would go into musician besides just somebody who puts out their own record. Let's do artists. Let's do fashion designers. Can you imagine that if you make a dress that becomes popular and it's being sold to Target, how you'd be paid per dress that gets picked up and sold, etc. So list out anything else you can think of that might be a royalties job, like you get paid per the sales. that you created. And then up here is the commission jobs. List out any commission jobs that you can think of. Okay. And if you just have the ones that I put, that's totally fine. But if you think of something else, absolutely add it to this list. All right, let's go through some examples for today. Adriana wrote a textbook for high school students. Yes, some people actually do this for a living. How do you think we get our textbooks? She receives 10% royalty based on the total sales of the book. The book sells for $47.95 and 17,000 copies were sold last year. How much did she receive in royalty payments? So first we must calculate the total number of sales. Now, by the way, you're going to need a calculator for this if you want to get your phone handy. I'm going to open up a little Desmos tab so we can go back and forth to it. Feel free to use Desmos or your phone calculator, whatever works. So let's see how much she made in sales first. If the book is $47.95 and 17,000 copies were sold, go ahead and take your calculator and multiply that. 17,000 times $47.95. Take a minute to try it, then we'll check your answer. Whoa, look at this gigantic number here. 815,150. So that sounds like a lot of money, right? Like, dang, she just earned a lot of money. But she doesn't get that 815,150, does she? She gets a part of that for her royalty. So her part, I think it said, was 10%. And so then we take 0.1, let's type in the words. Now take 10% of those sales and see what she actually earned. So 0.10 of 815,150. Take a minute to calculate that. $81,515. Do you see how we just take a zero off of the end to calculate that? Some of you might have already noticed that little number sense trick. So 81,515. So let's think to ourselves, writing a textbook got her $81,000 in sales. Do you think that's a good living? Well, I guess it depends on how long it took her to write the textbook. If it took her 1 year to write the textbook and she made $80,000 for the year, hey, pretty good. If it took her 10 years to write the textbook, 81,000 wouldn't be so much, but maybe she's written multiple textbooks or has other sources of income as well, which is common with authors. So anyways, that's just one way for you to see kind of how somebody who wrote a book might get paid. All right, let's look at example 2. Allison sells cosmetics from door to door. She is paid a monthly commission. She receives 11% of her first 900 in sales and 17% of the balance. Last month, she sold this much. Now, these days, it's not so much door to door, right? These days, this type of job is done over the internet, mainly through social media. Have you ever seen people who do the YouTube videos of these different types of makeup and then you're like, oh, I want that foundation. So you order it online and that person receives a certain percentage of their sales. And then when they hit a certain threshold, they make even more on those. So let's check this out. So first, we need to calculate the amount of money she makes off the first 900 in sales, which is 11% of that 900. So go ahead and calculate this, 11% of the first 900, and let's see what that gives us. By the way, I wanted to put this Desmos work up in that one. So make sure you paste in your Desmos work as we're going here, okay? All right, so now 11% of this 900 is $99. You might be like, whoa, that's not very much money. Now she makes 17% on the balance. How do we calculate the balance? Well, the balance is the amount of money she sold, $1,250, minus the 900 we already calculated on. So let's go see what's left over. And so there's $350 left over that we still earned commission on. So now we take 17% of that 350, 0.17 of 350 is $59.50. And so her total commission is $99 from the first 900, $59.50 from the second leftover part. And so her total is $158.50. So again, you're kind of thinking to yourself, I'd be good at selling makeup, or I can do makeup really well. I can make YouTube videos off this. But to sell $12.50 worth of cosmetics, think of how much each little item costs. To sell $12.50 worth of cosmetics only earned her a commission of $158.50 total. What do you think about that? Is that enough money to live on? Is that like a side job to your real job? You know, that kind of thing. All right, next is Kate works in a dress factory that makes dresses for designer boutiques. She is paid a piecework rate of $85 per unit produced. Yesterday, she made 3 dresses. How much did she earn? Multiply the number of items the person makes times the amount paid per item. So she gets $85 a dress times 3 dresses. Take a minute to calculate that. Oh, I keep forgetting to put in my Desmos work. Hang on. Let's capture that. Put that here. And this one is 85 times 3. And that gives us $255. So what do you think? Is $255 a good amount of money per day to earn? I mean, think about it. Substitute teachers make $180 a day. So $255 a day is sounding pretty good, and you don't have to deal with students, right? So what do you think about making dresses, about sewing, about whether you could do a job like that? Tony picks strawberries and gets paid at a piecework rate of 45 cents per container picked. He receives 65 cents per container for every container over 200 that he picks. Last week, Tony picked 270 containers. How much did he earn? So first, let's calculate how much he earned on the first 200. So 0.45 cents per container for the first 200 he picks. You're going to calculate that. Next, let's calculate the rest. So if he picked 270 containers, that's 70 containers extra. And so he makes 65 cents for those 70. So you're going to do these 2 calculations right now, and then we're going to add it together. So take a minute to do this on your calculator. 45 cents for 200 containers, and then do this on your calculator, 65 cents for 70 containers. So this got him $90. And this is 65 cents for 70 containers. This is $45.50. And then we add this together and we get $135.50 total. Okay. This is for the whole week, right? How much did he earn? $135.50 total. So again, thinking about, is this a job I could see myself doing? Is this enough to live off of? Is this a job in addition to another job? You know, we have to look at all these different aspects of it while we're making decisions for what we want to do someday. All right, example 5 is about car sales. Glassman Chevrolet pays commissions to its car salespeople. They are paid a percent of the profit that the dealership makes on the car, not the sales price of the car, but the profit. If the profit is under $750, the commission rate is 20%. If the profit is at least $750, less than or equal to $1,000, the commission rate is 22% of the profit. If the profit is above $1,000, the rate is 25% of the profit. And if X represents the profit, express the commission as a piecewise function. So all of these that we've been doing right now with the different tiers are actual examples of piecewise functions. But this is the first one we're making you write out. So the first one is a commission rate of 20%. And by the way, what are we calling this variable X? We're calling X the amount of profit of the sales of the vehicles. Cars, vehicles, whatever. So it's 20% first. Then there's a second tier where if he hits that level, we would say they make 22% of the sales. And then there's a third tier that if they make this level, they make 25% of sales. So my function is very simple. It's just 20% of the sales, of the profit, 0.20x, 0.22x, or 0.25x. But let's go look at the domains now. The second part of our piecewise function. This one is if the profit is under $750. So this is for X values less than $750. So $749 and down. Well, there can't be negative profit, so we're actually going to say 0 less than X less than. Is it possible that a car salesman does not sell any cars that month? Oh yeah, that's the whole problem with sales, is you might have a month with no sales. The next one says if the profit is at least $750 and up to $1,000. Now let's talk about equal to bars. Does at least $750 mean that the $750 is included? Yes, it does. So we're going to say X values that are at least $750 and less than or equal to $1,000. So this one also gets the bar. Notice my little hack here. One of you guys taught me this, to underline it with the underline key. And finally, my last domain is for any profits greater than 1,000, then you'd be in that final tier. So here's my piecewise function. I'm going to make 20% for 0 to 750, actually 749. I'm going to make 22% from 750 to 1,000 in profit, and I'm going to make 25% if I hit over 1,000. So this is incentivizing me to try to make over 1,000 in sales profits every month. So now that I have this piecewise function, did it ask me to do anything else? They're paid a percent. If the profit is under this, express the commission. So yeah, they didn't ask me to do anything with it. They just asked me to write that piecewise function. So how'd you do? Don't worry, we'll be practicing this for you guys to get better at writing these piecewise functions. Last but not least, we're on example 6. Joyce works at this furniture store. She is paid on commission. She receives 10% of her first 900 in sales, 15% of the balance. Last week, her commission earned $750. What was the total value of furniture she sold? So 0.10 of 900 plus 15% of an unknown balance. Well, this is going to be something unknown minus 900 of the first sales she made. And we know that she got a commission earned of 750. So on the last week's work, there was another output problem. This is the most missed question for students. When we give you the answer and ask you to work backwards to find a missing input. And so just know that these are generally tougher for students to figure out, but they're not hard, especially if we keep this example handy for when we take any quizzes, okay? So anyways, this is a solve backwards problem. So first we're going to go ahead and do point. This right here is going to give us $90, right? So 10% of 900 is 90. Then we're going to simplify the rest of this. 15 times x distributed minus, and then 15 times 900 is 13,500. Oh, sorry guys, this is a 0.15. Shouldn't have such a huge number, so that's my hint that I didn't do something right. So this is 135. All right, so now we're going to combine like terms. So 90 minus 135 is negative 45 on the left. So we've got 15x minus 45 equals 750. So we're going to add 45 to both sides. And we get 15x equals 795. And then we need to divide 0.15. Sorry, everybody, we forgot this decimal right here. Add it in everywhere. Now we need to divide both sides by 15%. And so we take 795 divided by 0.15, and we get 5,300. This is the amount of sales over the first 900. So total sales are 900 plus 5,300 is 6,200. So what do you think? Is that a normal profit to make at a dealership? I'd say so, if they sell a lot of cars, right? All right, let's take a quick peek here. Oh, sorry, it's not cars. Just kidding, it's furniture. Sold 6,200 in furniture last week. Pretty good. All right, what do you think? Can you envision yourself doing any of these types of jobs someday?